What's going on, my beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of the Hustle Coast podcast. And today we have an absolutely phenomenal guest. He is a master plumber with over 12 years experience and the CEO of Sewer Studs Plumbing and Drain based out of Tampa, Florida. I give you Ricky Cox.
How you doing, Justin?
What's going on, man?
Hey, glad to be here, man. Thanks so much for inviting me on your show.
Of course, man, of course. Me and you have known each other for a good amount of time now, I'd say.
Yeah, since Chamberlain High School, man. Good
Yep.
days. I have a lot of good memories from back then, so it's good
Huh?
times.
100%, man, 100%. We're from the same era. We went to the same high school, and yeah, man, I couldn't be more excited to have you on the show and tell your success story. So I'm excited.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
100%, 100%. So normally when I do my interviews, I always like to start at the beginning. Where were you born? What was your childhood like? Family like? All that.
Yeah, so I was actually born in Tampa, Florida, so I grew up there. Um, uh, Mom and dad had moved to Tampa. My dad originally was from Georgia, and he's actually from a military family, so he was all over. My mom was originally from Texas. And so I grew up in Florida. I love Tampa, Florida. I love the Central Florida culture. Um, let's see. Went to high school, got out of high school, and I knew that I wanted to work for myself. And when you're 18 years old, you don't really know what you want to do. But all I knew is that I was not going to be the kind of guy that was going to go through another 4 years of school or more. I wanted something that I wanted to learn a skill so that I could be my own boss as soon as possible. And so I actually picked plumbing out of a hat. I knew I wanted to do a skilled trade because it's one of the last few careers that has a very cut and dry path to entrepreneurship. And so I did a plumbing apprenticeship. I actually went to a school in Tampa called Irwin Technical College. I did a 1 year training program there, and then I went straight into apprenticing. And I worked as an apprentice for the next 4 or 5, I want to say 6 years actually. And then I got my license in 2019. And after I got my license, I pretty much started my company right away. I just jumped into the deep end. And yeah, so it's been a little over 6 years in business now. We've served thousands and thousands of clients. I want to say we've probably done over $5 or $6 million in revenue. I don't have the
Wow.
exact number off the top of my head, but um, not that that matters. But yeah, it's a good business, and it's a really good way to make a living, and it's an honest way to make a living. I mean, so I hope you don't mind me going off on a tangent here, but there's a
Not at
lot
all.
of ways to make money nowadays that I feel like aren't moral, and this is one of the few ways where it's, hey, I'm providing you a service, you're gonna pay me, and we're gonna do a good job for you and take care of you. You know.
Yeah, 100%. And we're going to get all into the story about your business, how it works, and everything like that. Now, I do kind of want to just, again, for the audience, just bring it back a little bit. So,
Sure.
real quick, so growing up, did you have any siblings? Were you an only child?
Yeah, so I grew up in a big family. So my mom and dad got divorced when I was about 5, and
Mm.
so my dad remarried, and I got another stepbrother and a stepsister out of that deal, which I love them very much. And then my mom had another son. So all in total, I've got 4 brothers by blood and a stepbrother and a stepsister. So I have a very big family.
Oh, wow, that is a big family. That's
hmm
awesome, man. And are any of them uh, entrepreneurs as well, or?
Yeah, so my brother Sean actually he runs a company that produces he does a products business. He does tallow based products, so like beef tallow for cooking, as well as certain tallow based products for like skincare for women and moisturizing creams and stuff like that. And so he's got a pretty successful online business that he does. He does pretty good for himself. So
Oh, that's
uh,
awesome, man. That's awesome.
mhm.
And growing up, like what kind of kid were you? Were you a sports kid? Did you gravitate toward business as a youngster? Like what were you into?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say I gravitated towards business as a youngster, but I did enjoy sports. I always did sports growing up. I played basketball in middle school, soccer in elementary school. In high school, I did football for one season, but then I found wrestling and I just fell in love with wrestling. I mean, wrestling is just one of those sports that really challenges you to have mental toughness and mental fortitude and discipline. And my coaches were really big mentors for me, and I really loved the sport. For a teenage boy that's like got tons of testosterone and doesn't know his place in the world, it really helped kind of center me and keep me from probably going to jail, if I'm being honest. Because,
Yeah.
when you're 17, 18 years old and you have all that testosterone and no outlet, it's a bad combination. But fortunately, I had good mentors. I had a good dad and I had good coaches that kind of steered me in the right direction.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think that sports, especially, well, I don't want to say especially team sports because I do believe that combat sports are also the same, but I mean, like, there's some type of like invaluable skills, especially for a boy, growing up, that sports gives you, team sports gives you, and combat sports gives you, the discipline, the mental fortitude, being able to take coaching, being able to get screamed at and not be able to pop off, just amazing skills that you learn.
Yeah, and I would almost say I think I consider wrestling, there's a side to combat sports that people don't often see, which is, you know, the wrestling match or the fight, right? People see that and it's usually 3 minutes to 10 minutes long, or maybe 15 minutes in a boxing match. But what they don't see is, you train 2 to 3 hours every single day, Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturdays as well, depending on what part of the season you're in. And you're with these other guys and your coaches. And so, really, I would say wrestling and the other combat sports are as much of a team sport as the others because when
That's
you're
true.
training and you're conditioning and you're shooting drills and you are running miles and laps around the school and you're suffering and you hate it and it's hot outside, you need those other guys who are in the trenches with you to give you the motivation to keep going on. Because
Yeah.
quite frankly, if I didn't have those guys alongside me, I would have quit way earlier.
Yo, that's a fact, man. And
Men
you're
need
right.
other men to hold them accountable.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Okay, so you find sports, you're coming up, you played some different sports, middle school, so you get to high school, that's where, me and you met. But obviously you're still involved in sports at that time. What sports did you do in high school?
So I did JV football for one season in my freshman year, and then I did wrestling all 4 years. I went varsity my sophomore, junior, and senior years for wrestling.
Nice. That's epic, man. Heck yeah.
Thank
And
you.
then shout out to the original Chamberlain Chiefs. Even though they try to change the name of our school, we'll always be the Chiefs forever and always.
Amen. Yeah, it's so goofy. You know what really kills me? So just for audience fun, I have a Chamberlain Chiefs tattoo on my arm, and then they go and
Hey.
change the freaking mascot of the school like a decade after I leave.
Yep.
It was the Chamberlain Chiefs for 60 plus years, and they decided to change it for political correctness. It's insane.
Yeah, it is insane.
So for me,
But
they'll always be the Chiefs.
yeah, yeah, me too, man, me too. But yeah, so 100%. All right, and I remember you in high school. You were always a very smart, very on top of your stuff guy, and I do believe at that time, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you were always kind of talking about entrepreneurship at that time. At least to
You,
me, maybe.
it's maybe, yeah, you might be right. I mean, you and I had we had travel, like, what was that travel class together?
Yeah,
That was in our senior year, and I think that's when you and I spent the most time together. And I think we also had weight training, didn't we?
I think we did.
Yeah, I loved weight training with you. That was always fun, and that's a habit I still have today. So I think,
Yeah,
just number one tip for entrepreneurs, you have to stay on top of your health. We'll get into that later. I'm sure it'll come up in the interview. But
100%.
I think around my last year of high school, when you really have to start thinking about what you're going to do in life, that's when I realized that for me, the thought of going to college for another 4 years after I just finished 12 years of schooling, right? In America, you start at kindergarten when you're 5 years old and you don't get out until you're 18.
Yep.
So it's 12 to 13 years of schooling. Okay. And for me, just the thought of another 4 years of my life, here's another thing. I also considered the education very ineffective. Like I remember reading the textbooks that they would give us, and I would have all the information memorized, and then they would give us lectures, and it was just the stuff that was in the textbook. And I remember thinking to myself, this is such an inefficient way to learn information. I read the book. I've already got everything that you're teaching me in my head. Why do I need to sit here and listen to you rant on about it for another 45 minutes? Let me just read the book. And so I think at 17 years old, 18 years old, I kind of had the perspective that it, the educational system is just very inefficient. It's a form of education that is for mass production. It's for getting as many people as possible to have the basic skill sets necessary to succeed in the workforce. But if you're a self-motivated person, like, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but the average statistic says that after graduating college, most 80 plus percent of college graduates will never read another book in their life. And to me, that's terrifying. I've read thousands of books. It's not an exaggeration. And I just don't understand how you would give, like, to me, education is reading, learning. Maybe it's listening to a podcast, maybe it's reading a book, maybe it's going to a seminar or hiring a mentor or a teacher to educate you on something that you don't know about. It's not just going to a class and listening to someone who's a self-proclaimed expert rant about it for 45 minutes. I'm sorry. So I just had a low view of the educational system at that point in life.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, most of my uh, intuitions at that time have been proven to be correct. I mean, if you look at the vast majority of kids getting out of college now, they're ill prepared for the workplace. A lot of high paying jobs are now saying, we don't even care if you have a degree. We just want to know that you have a skill set. And so it's
Yeah.
just, that. So to answer your question, sorry to go around in circles.
No,
I
no,
think
that's good.
I just realized at that age that the path they were pushing us all down to go to college was not going to be the path that made the most sense for me.
For sure. 100%, man. And it's funny, and again, obviously we're going to really, dive in, as I mentioned, to your business in particular, but it's funny because a lot of people that I know that didn't go to college or that didn't graduate from college, those are a lot of the people that have found success I've found in business, or they just had like a hunger about them, that you can't teach that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, one thing I will say is my dad was a very successful salesman. He still is to this day. And I remember learning a lot of like communication skills from him. And just the little things like the intonation of your voice right before you close a deal, learning to shut up after you've said your price and let the awkward silence speak for you. Just those little communication skills that I picked up from him. My dad is a master negotiator from being a salesman for so long, and I think I always respected the fact that he could get someone to do what he wanted with the power of his words. And fundamentally, I think entrepreneurship, really what it comes down to is being able to convince the world that your product or service is worth what you say it is.
That's sales right there, man. And everything is sales.
Yeah, it is. I mean, ultimately, what is I'm going to steal a line from the great internet guru Alex Hormozy. A sale is just a transfer of belief from one person to the other. Like
I love it.
fundamentally, it doesn't matter what you're selling. You could be selling your religion or your philosophy on life. You could be selling your service or your product, but fundamentally, you're just transferring the belief that you have about what it is. Like if I'm selling my plumbing service, I know that I can fix your problem. I have zero doubt. And after I've built up the reputation that I have, the customer won't have doubt either. And so it's just taking that belief that I have in myself and giving it to the customer so that we can solve their issue and help them and serve their needs.
100%. 100%. All right. So you graduate high school and you said you ended up choosing plumbing out of a hat.
Yeah, I mean, my brother Sean, funny enough, him and I were talking, and he said, "Man, I don't really want to go to college." And I was like, "I don't either." He's like, "I think I'm just gonna go be a plumber or something." And I was like, "Huh, I never thought about that." And I started looking into it, and I found out that like plumbers on average have like really fulfilling careers. You can start your own business after 4 or 5 years. Once you build up the time requisite and the experience requisite to apply for your license. And so it was just from that conversation. And I looked at HVAC and I looked at electrical. I knew that the skilled trades were going to make the most sense because, if you're just like, say, a painter, not saying that good painters aren't skilled, but the barrier to entry to be a painter is so much lower than, say, being a skilled plumber,
Right.
right? And so I wanted to enter into a trade that had a decently high barrier to entry.
Yeah. No, 100%. That makes sense. So then you get out, and I think you said so you went straight into from there. You went to trade school,
Mhm.
and then how long? So how long does one go to trade school for plumbing?
I think it was like an 11-month or 12-month course. It was basically a year. And
Okay.
then after that, I was either going to go straight into a plumbing apprenticeship at a local plumbing company, but I got the opportunity to go work at a hospital as a maintenance plumber
Mm.
on their night shift. And so that ended up being a good job for me for a couple of years. And it taught me a lot about myself because I was like, if there was ever a point in my life that I was close to being derailed from where I am today, it was that time period right there. Because my original game plan was go to plumbing trade school, get a job as a plumber, and then go start my business. Well, working at the hospital, none of that time working there counts towards getting me towards my plumbing license. And so it was time where I was getting paid well, but I had a lot of free time to myself. I was working at night, and I didn't take the job as seriously as I should have, looking back on it now. And in fact, I ended up getting fired from the job because of a mistake that I made that probably cost the hospital. I'll just tell you, I flooded out a wing trying to cut into a water line in the middle of the night, and I didn't ensure that the water was completely off, and I flooded out a wing of the hospital. So I was just completely going down the wrong path, and I got fired a week or two later when they found my replacement. And I'm actually really grateful that I got fired because it put me back on the path that I was supposed to be on. So like in life, if you deviate from the path, you have the opportunity to get back up and go towards what you're supposed to be doing. And so after that, I went and worked for a local plumbing company. Shout out to my friend Donnie Hawthorne, Safe Choice Plumbing. Been in business over 10 years, baby. Let's go.
Hey,
He's a
congrats to
good
him.
friend of mine, and he was my mentor when I got into really into plumbing. And he was my first and my last boss. So I worked for him for a year, and then I thought I was a hot shot, and I got a job offer to make more money working for another company. And I kind of jumped around at a couple different companies over the next couple of years. And then my last year that I had to work before I could qualify to sit for my license, I called him up and I said, "Hey, I got 10 months left, a year left before I can get my license. I'm going to get my license. I would like to come work for you in the meantime. I will work my butt off for you. I will hustle. I'll make you money. I can run these jobs. I got it. Just pay me a decent amount and I'm going to make you money and let's go." And that last year that we worked together, it went from, he was still kind of a mentor to me, but I went from being a kid in his eyes to being an equal,
Yeah.
right? Or at least close to being an equal. We started working out together. We built a really good friendship that endures to today. And he taught me a lot about life and about business. And, Donnie's just a very wise person that when you look at him, you wouldn't think so. Like, he's a very simple guy. But anyone that knows him knows that he's actually very profoundly wise. And so he set me on a good path. And then eventually, after I got my license, like a month later, I started my business and we parted ways. And I'm fortunate in that we have maintained our friendship. Me moving away from his business and starting my own never affected our friendship. And in a lot of ways, it's allowed us to have a deeper friendship because we identify with each other's struggles more. Like, I understand his struggles and he understands my struggles.
For sure. No, man, that's awesome. And having those type of not just mentors, but people that become friends essentially, or people who really can relate to you and what you're going through and can offer advice, man, those relationships are definitely invaluable as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you this. So we're at the point now where you launch your business. So were you a little bit nervous when you launched it? Did you feel really confident? Like did you have knowledge on the business side? I knew you knew plumbing, the technical part, but did you have business knowledge already? Did you have a plan?
No. And in fact, I would even say I didn't know plumbing as much as I should have. So there's one thing that I have, which is guts. I had guts, but I didn't have as much knowledge as I mean, either in plumbing or in business. I can tell you now that I know 1 million times more about business as I did 6 years ago, 1 million times. I mean, there's so many concepts that you have to download and learn to succeed in business that I just did not have. And I think every person that transitions from employee to self-employed or entrepreneur has to do that work and suffer through that. There's no replacement for just the fact that you need to learn these skills. And while it would be nice to have someone just teach you them off the bat, I think a lot of times the entrepreneur's journey is you just have to find out the hard way. The other thing is, I don't think I was as skilled of a plumber as I should have been to start that business. A lot of people think that plumbing is simple. Oh, you're just gluing pipes together or whatever. But the fact is, it's actually a very intricate trade, and I don't want to bore the guests with the details, but just suffice it to say that the way that a regular off the street person looks at a high rise versus a skilled craftsman, let's say a plumber, the way they look at that building versus the way I look at that building are completely different because I know what's involved in getting that building up. Even just a house, there's so many things that go into building a good house or doing a remodel. And yes, on the surface, these things seem simple, but the more knowledge, just like in business, right? On surface, it's charge more than what you spend and you'll make a profit. That's surface level, and that's true, right? Like in plumbing, we have a joke that says hot water's on the left and shit goes downhill. That's all you need to know about plumbing. And that's an oversimplification, and it's funny, you know, and it serves its point. But the thing is, everything, whether it's your business or your trade or your craft or whatever it is, there is a level of depth that you don't get to understand until you spent time in the shoes of the person doing that thing day in and day out for a decade. And I wasn't ready. I'm going to say that for the audience. Like, I was not ready. What I did have is guts. So of course, I had fears. I was newly married. Okay, so my wife and I had gotten married a year before. Okay, um, my wife, beautiful Ecuadorian woman from Ecuador. I stole her away. If she watches this podcast, she's the most wonderful, beautiful, kind person I've ever met, and I mean that. And I gotta say that marrying her helped me make the decision to move forward and get my life together and to be able to make this business. Like, if there's any guys watching this, I'm going to tell you right now, the number one business move you can make is get a good wife because she will encourage, aka whip your butt if she needs to make the right moves so that you can succeed and move forward. And so she encouraged me, and I made the plunge, and I just did it. I just started making Facebook posts, Instagram posts, making videos, getting reviews, boots on the ground, calling people, calling contractors, calling people from my network. Everybody on Facebook, I would send them a message. Hey, just so you know, I started my business. If you need anything plumbing related, free estimates, give me a call. I'm happy to help, whatever. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. The most in the first year, I would say, the vast majority of my business came from my social network that I had established in high school. Right. So I went to Chamberlain in 2012. I started my business in 2019, which means it had been 7 years since I graduated. And yet I'm getting referred to people. They don't know if I'm a good plumber or not. They've never done business with me, but they referred me because they remembered how I treated them in high school. And so for anyone watching this, especially the young people, treat people with respect and dignity because people may not remember what you say to them a decade later, but they're going to remember how you made them feel. And I always made a point to be kind and cool to everybody that I met as far as I was able to in high school. I consider myself the kind of guy, I didn't have a clique. Like, I hung out with everybody. There were preppy kids, gothic kids, the hood dudes, nerds. Like, I could make friends with everybody, and I was cool with everybody. And I think if you can learn the skill of finding a way to relate to everybody, it will make you a better entrepreneur. And when you finally take the leap into your business, you'll have the goodwill from your existing social network to leverage that so that you can get your first couple of sales.
Yeah. No, couldn't have said it better myself, man. And I can't tell you as well, how many times agreed I ended up or you end up reconnecting with somebody from your school days and you end up either doing business. I mean, look at us in this interview right now. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying? I literally knew you from back then in school. So it's like, yeah, definitely, treat people right, be friendly and keep relationships. You know what I mean? Keep relationships. Those are always good things.
Yeah, and just to add on to your point, why did I agree to do this interview? It's not like you and I talk every day. Like I probably haven't talked to you in 5 years, and that's
Right.
fine. I remember that you were a super cool dude in high school, and we hung out a couple times, a couple years after that. And I remember every time I hung out with you, it was a good feeling. Like,
Yep.
oh, Jesse's a good dude. Like, yeah, you want me to come on your podcast? Sure, no problem. Like, there's goodwill between us,
For
right?
sure. For
And
sure.
so, audience members, just remember that. Treat people the way you want to be treated. It's the golden rule, guys. It's from the Bible. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Definitely. 100%. So, what were some of your biggest challenges when you did first get up and running?
Um, okay. So the first thing I would say, and this is a business fundamentals one, I was not charging enough. Also, I did not have the proper frame psychologically for being a boss. And so several of the first people I hired to work with me ended up not working out. And in one case, I hired a guy that I had previously been friends with, and I hired him to be an employee, and the relationship soured. Fortunately, we were able to kind of repair the relationship over the next couple of years, and then he moved out of the state, and I ended up going to his wedding, and so we repaired the relationship. But looking back on it, I messed up because I didn't understand the business fundamentals. And just for the benefit of the audience, here are the business fundamentals. You need to charge enough so that you make a profit, and you need to understand all of the things that go into running your business. If you don't understand your costs, you can never charge enough because you'll either A, spend way too much for what you're charging, or B, way undercharge. And I think I was doing a little bit of both. And it really, honestly, if I was talking to a solo tradesperson who was thinking about starting their own business, my advice would be work solo for the first 6 months. Build up the stack of cash before you go hiring employees. See, I was really good at marketing. And so I was able to get a lot of business really quick. And I was also pretty good at sales. But what I wasn't good at was the business fundamentals of understanding, cash flow. Understanding cash flow is critical. Like if you can in theory make a profit. If you have $100,000 in billables in a month, that's great. But what happens if you've only collected $20,000 of that $100,000 and your operating costs for the month are 40 grand? Well, now you have to borrow 20 grand and hope that you get a check next month. You see the problem? And so understanding cash flow fundamentals, understanding charging the proper amount for your service, understanding your cost of goods sold, the really boring business, understanding accounting, right? How to read a gross profit, how to read a profit statement, how to read a cash flow report. All of those things that you don't know, you don't even know that you need to know them when you start a business, but they quickly become the fundamentals that everything you do is sitting on top of. It is literally the house that is either built on sand or built on a firm foundation, to use biblical terminology. If you understand business fundamentals, your business will be built on solid ground. And if you don't, it'll be built on sand and everything will shift and move and there will always be chaos.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. 100%. So, in your opinion, what separates a good plumber from a great one?
Attention to detail, do you enjoy what you're doing, number one? And do you take pride in your work? I mean, there's little details, right? Like, are you going the extra mile to make your work not just function good, but look good? Are you designing the system in a way that's going to alleviate headaches down the road? If you don't mind, I'll just use an anecdote here. So, when my home was being built, I'm I had a new construction home that got built last year, and at our first meeting, I sat down with the project manager and I said, "Look, I've been in the industry for over a decade. I know how these houses are built. They slap them together with cardboard and glue, and they make them look pretty on the outside, but the insides are terrible. You can't fool me. So if you're going to build me a house, it's going to be up to code, and it's going to be done to the blueprints and to the code book. And you're not going to deviate an inch to the left or an inch to the right. And if you do that, I will be the easiest, most wonderful customer you ever have. And if you don't do that, I will be your nightmare." And I just told that to him to his face in front of the sales manager and my wife, and she was kind of blushing. And I said, "Look, it's your choice." And to give him credit, he did a really good job. There were minor things that I had to get them to fix, but the one major thing that I had to come after them is that in a home, in my home in particular, there's supposed to be what in plumbing terminology we call vent stacks. And what a vent stack is basically a pipe that goes up to the roof. For a regular person, if you're standing outside and you look at your house and you see the little things that poke out of the roof, those are probably plumbing stacks, and they allow air to go into the plumbing system so that everything can flow properly. Okay, that's the 1,000 foot overview. Well, there is a way that you can install less of those if you use a product called an air admittance valve, aka a Studer vent. And all that is basically it saves you about 15 feet of piping going up through the roof. And instead of venting through the roof, you just put the vent in a mechanical vent underneath the bathroom vanity. And that's supposed to vent the bathroom. Now, the thing is I know from experience that that is a inefficient, subpar way of designing the system. And the blueprints showed that they were supposed to do it the other way. And so they tried to put in the cheaper method, and I had to come down on them and say, "No, you're going to do it the way the blueprints say." All of this to get back to the point that if the guy that was doing my installation was a great plumber, he would have just followed the blueprints instead of taking a shortcut. See, with my customers, I never take shortcuts. I firmly believe that your brand, your integrity, everything about your business comes down to, do you put quality over everything? And so whether that's in as a tradesman or a product, if you're designing a product, whatever it is, do it to the highest quality that you can. And here's the thing, your quality should go up over time. Like, my work is better than it was 5 years ago, as it should. Like, if you do something every day in and day out, you should get better at it. Same thing with business. The first couple of years are going to be rough. I'm just going to tell that to all the audience members. The first couple of years of doing a business suck. You don't know what you're doing. You're like a ship tossed about by the sea. Okay, every wave pushes you to the left and pushes you to the right, and you're stressed out and you're anxious, and you don't know where your next dollar is coming from. But eventually, what happens is that storm tosses you about until eventually you find your footing and you stand up and you say, "No, like, this is not a storm. This is just a little wave. Like, it's not a big deal." And so you get the I'm looking for the word, the sure footing to be able to say, "Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm confident in what I do, and I am confident in myself and in my business."
100%, man. And it's like, obviously having a mentor and being able to retain information and be able to learn, those are all good. But there's also something to be said for just stepping in the fire, man, and having to just, learn by doing it. So I definitely agree with you that sometimes that is the best way and to really close the gap on the learning curve and to get better at something. So I 100% agree.
Yeah, and just to add on to your point, I did have a couple of mentors. Like, I actually hired a couple of business coaches in those first couple of years that I would say were really helpful. There, I do recommend, like, if you can hire a good business coach that can teach you things, work with them, because they're going to save you a lot of money by saving you a lot of time. But I
For sure.
do also believe that there comes a point in every entrepreneur's journey where he has to look in the mirror and say, "I've learned all I can from this person, and now I just need to put it into action." Because, we live in we live in a culture that has unlimited access to information, right? Like your podcast, for example. How many podcasts are there? Probably hundreds of thousands. Uh, every day, something like 5 million hours of content gets uploaded to YouTube. Like we are drowning in a sea of content, in a sea of information. And so the problem is no longer how do I get access to information? It's how do I act on the information that I've been given? Because if you just all you do is watch motivational videos and educational videos and you never put them into practice, you're no better off than if you had never watched any of those videos in the first place.
For sure.
Right. And so education without application is not wisdom, it's vanity.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, for sure, man. I think that action, even I know people who take action who probably don't even learn or like have a real destination as much as they should, but because they take action, good things happen to them.
Yeah, to add on to that, some of the most successful people I know are dumb. Like
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a judgmental way. I'm just saying like lower IQ, like not the smartest, not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Right.
But it's almost like because they're dumber, they don't overthink. Like, I'm gonna start a lawn care business. What do I need? Well, I'm just gonna buy a lawnmower.
All right.
And then they buy the lawnmower and they knock on people's doors. Hey, can I cut your lawn? And like I almost think that like the more intelligent you are, the more you tend to overthink things. And that's been a big problem for me, and I've learned to overcome it over the years. But yeah, just like don't listen to that inner I'm sorry to curse on your podcast. Don't listen to that inner bitch voice. Like, just get to
100%.
work.
Yeah.
you know?
100%, man. 100%. All right. So let me ask this. How do you approach sales in your company?
Yeah, so this is a wonderful question. So my approach to sales has changed over the years. So in my space, just to give a little more context, I work as I'm a plumber, but most of my business is in what we would call home services or residential, right? And so primarily I'm selling my services to homeowners. Now, I also work for contractors, but primarily my space is residential. Okay. And so I'm dealing with Mrs. Jones and Mr. Project Manager, right? Two very different clients, by the way, because what the project manager wants is totally different from what the homeowner wants. And what I have learned over the years is that number one, I've gotten better at identifying who my core audience is. In the beginning, I would do anything. If it was a restaurant that called me, yeah, sure, we'll take that call. If it was a big commercial building, yeah, whatever, I'll come take a look. And sometimes I got those jobs, but a lot of times I got distracted and I wasn't moving the mission forward and I wasn't pushing the company in the direction that it needed to go because I was so scatterbrained and I was looking at every opportunity as if it was the same. And the fact of the matter is that's just not the case. And so my approach to sales over the years has transitioned. I started off pretty laid back, where it was like, I'll give you a quote and I'll give you a good price and like whatever, not really selling myself. And then I took some courses on like the hyper aggressive, give 20 different options. And I want to try and give context to this for your audience, but I think it'll be difficult because it's very specific to my niche business.
Sure.
But the easiest way I could explain it is like, you know, do you want a plumber to come to your house or do you want a salesman? And what a lot of the educational companies in the home services industry are pushing is the salesman model because it does drive the most revenue. Like if you have a plumber come to your house and he tells you, "Hey, like I'm sorry, I can't just fix your problem. I need to repipe your whole house and it's going to be 10 grand." Well, if he gets that sale, he's going to make a lot more money for the company with that $10,000 sale than if he just fixes the problem for say $500.
Right.
The problem is that it's now creating an incentive structure where people are encouraged to lie. And so in an industry like plumbing, where you may be Mrs. Jones, you don't know anything about plumbing. And I'm an expert, I'm in your home. You have to trust what I'm saying. And if I am lying to you to get you to spend more money with me than you need to, we've got a problem. And so what I found is that a lot of the industry, unfortunately, there's a lot of dishonesty. And I was never dishonest with my customers, but I was like the coaching companies that I went through encouraged us to give, to kind of use these tactics to get higher sales and whatnot. And ultimately, I just couldn't do it. Like I just felt like it was so unethical. I couldn't move forward with that framework. And so what I settled on was a framework that I like to call the consultant approach. And so what the consultant approach is, when you're going into a sales situation, you have zero emotional attachment to the outcome. When you walk in, let's say for a home that has a plumbing problem, my job as the consultant is I want to figure out, number one, what is the problem and accurately diagnose it. And number two, what are some ways that we could get a desired outcome for the customer and at different price points, let's say, or if there is even multiple price points. And so when you put on the consultant hat, you are working through the problem with the customer. You ask questions like, how long have you been having this problem? What have you done to try to fix your problem? What kind of pain is this problem causing you? Have you called other plumbers? What did they tell you? Okay, that's interesting. Huh, that doesn't add up. I'm going to do my own investigation and I'll let you know what I find. Do you want to come look with me? Oh, Mrs. Johnson, this is what I found. Here's all of the data points to back that up. Here's photo evidence. Here's video evidence. Here's your problem. 100% this is your problem. And here's what we can do to fix it. And by the way, you don't need to make a decision today. I know that 10 grand is a lot of money. You can hire me or you can hire someone else. I'm here to help you. And what I found is like, number one, I know that sounds so counterintuitive because it's almost like, it almost sounds like I don't want their business. And that's not the case. I do want their business. But I am genuinely not emotionally attached to the outcome. The reason I'm not emotionally attached to the outcome is because I have so many clients and so many people wanting to do business with us that like I get to pick and choose who I work with. And so I like in my business, I am not running a growth focused business primarily. I'm running a lifestyle business. What does that mean? For me, a lifestyle business is I pay my employees well, I pay myself well, I take really good care of my customers, and I work the hours that I want to work.
Yeah. No,
Probably work 2 days a week, and I have an income that's higher than 90% of Americans. And I love those days that I work, and the rest of the week I'm with my family. And the thing is like I can do that being 100% ethical, not having to force people to do things they don't want to do because I keep my business overhead reasonably low, pay my people high, and I take really good care of my customers and I'm 100% honest with them and 100% transparent and I care about their needs. And so the thing is like in America, we have a culture that is fighting, if you look at like Grant Cardone, right? Or Andy Elliott, all these sales gurus that I would say are highly unethical. Get the sale at any cost. No, get the sale without sacrificing your integrity. Like for me, I'm a Christian. I need to be able to sleep well at night because one day I'm going to go before my maker and give an account of everything I've ever said. And so if I am conducting my business in a way that is unethical, I have to confess that to him. I don't have a choice. And so it's just a lot easier for me to just do business in a way that I don't have to worry. I sleep fine at night. God forbid I make a mistake, I'll make it right. Like listen, I've been in business for 6 years. You think I haven't made mistakes? Of course I have. The difference is when you have an overarching value system that guides you in the direction of truth and integrity, eventually you just stop worrying and you just focus on taking care of the customer. And I know that's counterintuitive, but it's almost like the counterintuitive way is the narrow path and it is the path that you need to go on.
100%, man. Couldn't agree more. I found that in consultative sales, because I'm in sales as well, and I've been in sales for a long time. And I've found that consultative sales and really selling what a person needs as opposed to just cramming product down their throat and then they're not happy down the road, you know, those high pressure sales tactics. I've done both. And I would agree with you 100% that the consultative sales approach, having integrity, not only does it really, I believe, pay more in the long run, but again, you are able to keep your conscience right. You're able to know that you're doing the right thing for people. And that is, you know, that's more important, you know what I mean, to me than a little extra money here or there, you know what I mean? So for
Yeah,
sure.
you get to sleep well at night, and at the end of the day, people love to buy. They just hate being sold. Like you listen, if you've done any amount of sales training in your life, you know when those tactics are being put on you and it doesn't feel good.
Right.
And so if it
100%.
doesn't feel good when they do it to you, why would you ever do that to someone else?
For sure.
Like you don't need to manipulate people to get business. Just help them solve their problem. And listen, sometimes a customer is just not going to be your customer. Like one of the things that I started doing within the last year is I started telling people up front, if it's a super small repair, a lot of times, those little tiny repairs like a toilet flapper or like a little leaking drip under a faucet or something, they're just not worth our time as plumbers because, the bigger jobs are the ones that provide the vast majority of the income. And so I'll just tell people, look, I'm happy to fix your problem. This is how much it's going to cost up front. It's a minimum of $250 for me to come out there. That's my minimum. And sometimes they're like, oh, yeah, I'll get back to you. And I'm like, okay, fine. And they never call back. And that's fine. It doesn't bother me. But at least I was upfront with them versus the opposite approach is company ABC Big Blocks Plumbing Company. Oh, it'll be, $59 for a plumber to come out or $99 for them to come out. Okay, well, how much is it going to cost? We can't tell you that over the phone. We can't tell you that. And then they get there and it's $500 for the same repair that I would charge, whatever. Or they try to sell them the whole house, instead of fixing their problem. And I just, I just can't do that.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. I definitely agree. Good to hear. So let me ask you this, kind of touching upon leadership. How would you describe your leadership style?
I would say that I try to lead by example. I firmly believe that in my business, my team needs to know that I'm willing to get down in the ditches with them. And so even though I don't work as much in the field as I used to, when I do work in the field, I'm busting my butt and I'm being productive and I'm staying on task and I'm helping them get their jobs done and getting their day done earlier. If they are sick, I have a personal rule. I remember when I was working at one of my old companies, not my buddy Donnie, but this other company in town, and I got sick once or twice, and I would call in, and he would make such a big deal out of it. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? I need you to just come in. Can you just work and take, whatever? Like we just can't cancel. And he made me feel so guilty about calling in sick that I made a personal policy that if any of my guys ever call in sick, it's no questions asked. Hope you feel better. Let me know when you're ready to come back to work. Because like our job, like it's not, we don't have some BS HR, job that you can do at home, on your computer. This is like real work. You're in attics, you're under houses, you're digging ditches. And if you're not feeling good, you can't get anything done, or you're super slow, and it's a waste of your time. It's a waste of my time. I would much rather my guys take a sick day, go home, rest, and you know what? They feel appreciated. As a matter of fact, I'm a bit sick myself. And I was supposed to go to a job this morning with my guys. And I texted him. I said, dude, I feel like dog crap. I'm not going to be productive. You know what he said? Rest, feel better. And they got the job done without me. And I do the same thing for them. And so obviously treat other people the way you want to be treated. But I think my leadership style is I want to lead by example. And I just honestly in leadership, I just try to. I know this is like trite in a lot of ways, but I just try to emulate Jesus, man. Like at the end of the day, he's the example of a leader, and I'm just trying to follow him. And so I want to treat my employees with integrity. I want to be respectful to them. I've never cursed out one of my employees. I've never disrespected one of my employees. And the few times that I have had disagreements, we talk about it like men, face to face and direct. Hey, I don't like the way you're talking to me. Can you tell me what's going on? Or vice versa. And we figure it out like men, respectfully and calm. And so I think that's really all you need to know about. Now, obviously, you have to set boundaries. Like employees are not your friends in the strictest sense of the word. I learned that early on. And so, while I will take the guys out, a couple times a year to like, we always do a big Christmas party. I love spending money on them. We'll take them out to like a really fancy restaurant and drop like 2 grand on a nice dinner, and like give them fat bonuses in cash. Like, I love doing that. But like, like at the end of the day, there is a little bit of distance between me as the owner and them as the employee, but it's just a respectful distance. Like I would do anything for those guys, and they know that. They know that there's a difference in roles, but a difference in role never means a difference in value. Like I value all of my team members as much as I would value myself or any other human being. You have to treat other people with respect. And if you do it long enough, they come to trust you and to see that you're a real person. I had one of my guys, I was talking to him the other day, and I asked him, he'd been with me for about a year, and I said, have I met your expectations of working here? And he said, yeah. He's like, you're one of the few people that keeps your word. And I'm not saying that to toot my horn. I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. I'm saying that because if you are the kind of leader that does uphold his word and does take care of his employees and does respect them, they will go above and beyond what you ever expect them to do for you. And I've seen it time and time again.
And for this last one here, I know you've already kind of touched on this, but how do you want to be remembered, not just as a CEO, but as a person?
I think the biggest impact that a person can have is in the life of their spouse and children. Um, Ultimately, when you die, you will be a picture on the wall for a few people, and within a few generations, you may not even be a picture on the wall to them. And so, while I do believe in life after death, and I know that the life after this one is more glorious than this one, I do recognize that the impact that I play in this life is primarily going to be the impact that I have on my children and on my wife. If I can give my children a better life than I've had, even a better framework. I wasn't raised a Christian. My dad, I love him very much. He was not a Christian, and I would say he's still not. Um, he, a lot of the ways he viewed the world, I I look at now and I just say, no, that's not the right way to view the world. And we live in a modern society that is just so atheistic and so materialistic, and it doesn't have answers to the deepest life questions like, why are we here? What is our purpose? And so, without going full blown evangelist on your audience, I will just say that your biggest impact that you can have is on the people that are in your house when you go to bed at night. Show up for
100%.
them, show up for
100%.
your wife, show up for your children, give them the best of you. Everybody else, you can still give them a really good part of you, but your best needs to be for them.
100%. Couldn't agree more. So, as we're coming to kind of the end here, these next questions I have for you, Ricky, they're just fun questions, just for the
Sure.
audience to kind of, get to know a little bit more about you. So, if you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what are you eating?
Hi, steak. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And
It's got all the nutrients.
oh yeah, and how do you eat your steak?
It depends. I mean, if it's a really high quality steak, I would say like rare or medium rare. If it's just like a, questionable grocery store steak, then medium is acceptable.
Nice, man. Yeah, no, me too. I'm like
You
a
got you gotta get the G, the all of the questionable worms and stuff out of the meat if you're eating low quality meat. But if you're getting a good cut steak, medium rare or rare is the way to go.
for sure, for sure. If you had a time machine, would you go to the past or the future?
Oh, definitely the past. Yeah, I'm
Nice,
gonna go meet Jesus for sure. 100%. No questions
nice,
asked, bro. 100%.
nice. I like it, man. I like it. Do you have any hidden talents?
Yeah, I play bass guitar. I've been I'm not like a super talented musician, but I had a little jam band that I played in for a while, and I still enjoy fiddling around on the bass, and I just love it. It's just a fun instrument, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Love it. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
Favorite movie or TV show? You really put me on the spot here because there's so many good TV shows. Okay, so for TV show, just like for pure fun, I'm gonna answer both if that's okay.
Yep,
For TV show, I would say the new Amazon series Reacher is so well done, man.
that's a good one.
And like Alan, I'm forgetting his last name, Alan Richardson does an amazing job playing Reacher. Like he'll go down in the history books as the definitive Reacher.
Yeah,
And then for movie, I would have to say, I want to say Inception was like one of those movies that really had an impact on me.
for sure.
It was just the concept that in the Matrix, because like if you think about it, the Matrix and Inception are really just two sides of the same coin.
Yeah,
In the Matrix, you're locked in a vision of reality that is far worse or very dystopian, and they're like giving you this suppressed version of reality to get you to comply, whereas in Inception you are making your own reality. And so it's the difference between being lied to about reality and lying to yourself. Like they're just two sides of the same coin. And I actually think like the danger in modern society is less the matrix deception, because we all kind of know that there's BS and like governments and media and propaganda, try to distract us and keep us from our true purpose and our true calling. But I actually think Inception, which is self deception, is far more pernicious because it's far easier to lie to yourself.
yeah,
You can lie to yourself so quick and tell yourself that you're a good person and you're doing the right thing, and you might actually be a terrible person. And so there's a great danger in man's ability to lie to himself and not being willing to confront his own darkness, let's say.
I
And
like
I
that,
think we
man.
all need to do it.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Those are some good ones. Who's your favorite artist or band?
Hmm. Let's say all-time favorite band would be Red Hot Chili Peppers. They've got just such a wide, like if you listen to their music from the 80s and then you listen to their music now in the like 2020s, they have a 40-year musical career, and like you can pretty much find anything in that 40 years that'll scratch that itch.
100%, man.
And as far as bassists go, there's no better bassist in the history of the world than Flea. I'm sorry. The guy's a legend.
No, man, 100%. Those guys are crazy, dude. I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, man.
For sure, for sure. And last one, what is your dream vacation spot?
Hmm. I would just say going through Europe. I'm a really big nerd for old architecture. I went to Spain a couple years ago and I loved seeing the old cathedrals. And if I could just do a Europe tour where I just go and see all the old cathedrals and castles and stuff like that, that would be my dream. I just
Heck yeah.
love old buildings. Something about that just scratches the itch for me.
100%, man. 100%. So, in closing, what's next for you and your company? Any exciting plans or updates on the horizon?
Yeah, so I mean, in our company, I think the biggest thing for us is that I'm going to give you a quick answer, I promise, but I need a second to explain. My business, the way I run it, is because I intend on passing it to my children. I will never sell my plumbing company because it has given me so much freedom and so many opportunities. Like, truly, the freedom is worth more than the money. I'm just telling you that right now. But it has provided me a style of life that is so much better than I could have ever imagined. And this is a moderate amount of hustle. I'm not one of those hustle bros that's like 24/7, let's go all the time. I'm not. I have a pretty balanced view on work and life. And so I want to pass that on to my kids. I have two sons. One 4, one is 2, and I would love for them to inherit my company, and I'm going to give it to them. I'm not going to I'm going to make them earn it, but I am going to give it to my children. I hate the concept of, excuse me, family businesses selling their company to the children. It's just so greedy and ugh. So my children will inherit the company while they're alive. They don't have to wait till I'm dead to have the company, and it'll give them a way of life that honestly, like how many Americans can work for themselves? It's less than 10% now. It used to be most Americans. It's less than 10% now. It'll probably be less than 5% in another couple decades. And so I'm
100%.
going to give them the gift of freedom by being their own bosses.
I love that, man. That's epic. Any shout outs or thank yous you'd like to give?
Yeah, so shout out, I would say, shout out to my friend Donnie Hawthorne, who I mentioned earlier in the interview. Just a really good man, and I'm grateful that he hired me because if he didn't, I probably wouldn't be here right now. Thank you to my wife. She's the most wonderful, kind person I know, and I couldn't have done any of this without her. And she's just the best, man. What else can I say than that? Like, she's the best.
That's awesome, man. I love that. And very last thing, Ricky, where can people find you or book your company?
Yeah, so it's sewerstuds.com, SEWERSTUD like dog S.com. And if you go to sewerstuds.com, you can read all about us, check out the webpage. And if you just want to get in touch, shoot me an email and say you liked the podcast, just fill out the contact form and I'll shoot you an email back.
100%. 100%. Well, Ricky, it's been an absolute pleasure having your story today, and just allowing the audience and the people to get to learn more about you and your success and your entrepreneur and leadership. I want to thank you so much again for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I want to thank the audience again for tuning in to another episode of the Hustle Coast podcast. Other than that,